Hello everyone, this is Ian and welcome. Thanks for joining me for this brief video. It's going to be a discussion rather than a complete music video, and part of it is to explain a little bit about my songwriting process, and I wanted to share something with you, and then also just to explain why I've been absent for so long. First of all, let's get that out of the way. I don't want to make this a big political thing, so very briefly I'll just explain for those who don't know about the current situation in South Africa. We have an energy crisis, which means that we're not getting enough electricity at the moment. It's been going on for a few years, but it got really bad from last year onwards. It means that in a typical 24-hour cycle, we could be without electricity for anything between 4 and 14 hours. So that makes it extremely hard for us, or for me, to create, to record, because I do need electricity to be able to do that. Secondly, after 3 years of working from home, I'm now fully back at the office, which means I spend a lot less time here where my instruments and my music station are set up. I also spend some time in traffic, so yeah, it's getting very hard to just get a few hours back to back to be able to work. Just a note, I've taken the pop filter off this microphone so you can see my face, my mouth a little bit more. So apologies for any nasty noises and pops coming from me this evening. So I wanted to explain to you about something new that I'm working on. It's called The House of Darkened Windows, and it's in fact the first bit of music that I've done since December, I think, December of last year. Just before I go on, I really also want to say thanks to those of you who keep returning to my channel. So I have been getting a trickle of views and likes and shares and so on. So thank you very much for that. I've also gained a few subscribers. Thank you so much for your interest and your support. It really keeps me going, even though I'm going at a snail's pace. So let's get back to The House of Darkened Windows. So the way I've been working on this is in a way typical, in a way also atypical of how I normally do things, because I've not written the whole song. It's still a work in progress. In fact, I haven't completed beyond even the first verse and the sort of pre-chorus. I have an idea for the chorus, but it's not fully materialized yet. But what I wanted to show you is how stylistic choices, artistic choices, and differences in style can have a profound impact on the sound of the very same song. And what I mean by that is I've written the sort of chord structure and the melody and lyrics, but I've made two very different recordings of the same thing in completely different genres. So I started with the one up to the point that I'm going to play it to you, and then I started with the second one and did the same thing. And you'll hear that they are stylistically very different, but harmonically, melodically, they are basically the same. So what it is it's a little song in D minor, and I'm just going to demonstrate here. I've selected a lovely piano sound from Spitfire's LABS sound library, I guess. So shout out to those guys. Thank you so much for putting out these free plugins like the BBC Orchestra. They're really fantastic to work with, and also the quality of this piano is really wonderful. So D minor, going to its subtonic, which is the C major chord, very common for a melodic minor in descending form, to a G major chord, and then to a flattened second major chord with a seventh. Quite nice sound to that. So that's E flat, G, B flat, D. It repeats. And then instead of going to that E flat, just G minor. And then there's this little figure twice. A C major, E flat major, F major, A flat major. That happens twice. And that's as far as I got, but you will pick that up from what I'm going to play to you. So you'll hear very different types of orchestration or instrumentation, if I can call it that. The first one, I think I attempted to be a little bit more acoustic sounding, I guess, and the second one is a little bit more electro sounding. But of course, the nature of working with a MIDI controller in a DAW like Ableton, which is what I'm doing, is nothing is acoustic. It's all based on samples, so it's all in the sample bank. Therefore, yeah, it really, I'm not sure whether to call it acoustic type music or simply electronic. But anyway, made from samples of acoustic instruments. Now, something interesting happened there, and you'll hear that I used two different Wurlitzer instruments, one left channel, one right, and then also something called a rock guitar. Somewhere between those three instruments, which I presume were sampled from real instruments, there is a problem in terms of the tuning. You'll definitely hear that, especially if you're listening to this video on a smartphone. It really stands out. So I have to still find a solution for that tuning problem, because it is a little bit of an irritating effect. The fact that they're not really all tuned precisely the same. So how am I going to address that? I guess one option would be to run it through a pitch correction plugin like Melodyne by Celemony. But I've never done that with polyphonic sounds, so I'm not sure that's going to work. In fact, I've stopped using Melodyne completely on my vocals. At least for about a year now, I've not used it, because to me it's an issue of honesty and authenticity. So if I sing flat or sharp, sometimes that happens, that creeps in, and if I don't pick it up, maybe you will, but to me that's just a little bit more authentic than putting things through an auto-tune sort of process. Anyway, so I don't think that's going to work. Probably I'll have to find out which one it is, whether it's consistently sharp or flat, and then just within Ableton take that MIDI file, flatten and freeze it, or freeze and flatten it, make it into an audio file, and then detune it maybe a few cents up or down. So maybe that will be a solution to that tuning problem. We'll see how that works out. So in terms of the instrumentation I used on this first version, it's a more acoustic one. So there's basically a kick and a snare. This is from Spitfire LABS, a kick and snare, and maybe some hi-hat. This is from a drum loop, in fact, so I didn't program these drums, but I did augment them with a programmed additional kick and snare. But I used these two loops, in fact, and then I added a few things like, I think, guiro. I added cowbell. There's a clave, like a wooden clave, and then congas and bongos, just to add to the depth, make it a little bit more rich and interesting, but also to add stereo width, and I think there's shaker and tambourine in there as well, that help achieve that objective. And then with the drumming tracks, there are those two Wurlitzers. There's piano, some guitars. There's an acoustic, electric guitar. There's a rock guitar, which is quite overdriven, and then there's an organ panned to the right that you'll hear. That's in the pre-chorus, again to add some texture to the mix. So it's a little bit more 70s, I think, inspired. A little bit Supertrampy, although I'm not claiming to sound anything like the great Supertramp. But yeah, so that was my thinking when I first recorded the song for the first time. Now for the second one, completely different treatment of the same song, a little bit faster in fact, but all electro. It doesn't attempt to sound acoustic at all, although there are some acoustic elements like string pads, and there are also some vocal pads, again from LABS by Spitfire. I think the strings probably from the BBC Orchestra. But the rest of it's all synthy, it's quite smooth, so nothing is supposed to sound terribly acoustic, and I didn't use a lot of the existing things from the other recording. I think I kept the bongos and the congas, but definitely no cowbell, none of the no guiro, none of that stuff. That wouldn't have gone with it. Interestingly, here I used a little hi-hat figure that I recorded for another song of mine last year, with lots of filtering and panning on it, which was inspired by Sunny by Boney M. I didn't want to use a sample because of copyright issues, so I actually just recreated that, and I inserted that into this version of the song to again give a little bit of that high sibilant frequency, but also something that adds some panning and some stereo depth. These songs have not been mixed properly, so the levels are almost there, the panning is there, but there's no reverb, so there's nothing in terms of a 3D spatial treatment of these two versions of the song. So in terms of the vocal that I might want to add, I think each one will ask for its own type of vocal. I don't think I would be able to record vocals only once and use it across both. I don't think that's going to work. First one will be a little bit more gritty, probably. And the second one, definitely a little bit more softer and more reserved and smoother. It's not going to work using exactly the same vocal for both of these. Anyway, I hope you enjoyed listening to these short clips. I'd love to hear from you in the comments section what you think about the stylistic differences, whether you have a preference. I think I'm definitely going to complete it in both ways. So it would be interesting to see if I load both of those videos at the same time, how they would fare up against each other in terms of views and preferences and likes and so on. It would be interesting. But anyway, let me know what you think in the comments. Thank you so much for joining me. Thanks for listening. And thanks for your patience, most of all. Hopefully pretty soon I'll have something, if not this, then maybe something else that I can share with you. Like I said, it's very, very difficult at the moment, but we won't give up. So thanks for joining me, and God bless you all, and see you soon. Bye-bye.